Hello everybody, welcome back to today's video. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I actually got a sound design request and I'm going to cover that, a specific sound from a specific track, and I didn't really try to recreate the exact same sound, but I took some of the main features of the sound and kind of made it my own and show some of the things you can do to kind of achieve this sound, and we're going to go over that. So this is the session we're working with today. As you can see, this is what we're dealing with. There's also some other stuff from other different sounds, as this is part of a session we worked on stream. But with that out of the way, this is what I was inspired by to make. I'll quickly show you. It's Happy Days by Ajja. There's this vocal pad in the track, which really stood out to someone, and he wanted to know some of the tips you can use to kind of make a similar sound. So this is what we have. So that's what I was inspired by, and I took some of the ideas from that and I turned that into this, which sounds so that's what we have, and now I'm gonna go over some of the things you can do to get this sound. I'm gonna quickly turn off all these effects so we can hear what the sound started like that, and then we will go over what each effect does and how it adds to the feeling of the sound. So we start off with two different voice sounds here in this rack, two sounds generated by Omnisphere. I don't remember the exact presets and I can't really open them right now because Omnisphere doesn't really like when I record things. It takes a long time to open and kind of set up. So for the sake of the video, we're not going to do that, but I am going to show you each individually how they sound. And I can quickly bypass the automation here. So what this rack does is, as you can see, we have these chain selectors set up. And if you know how the chain selector works, you know that we're basically crossfading between the two sounds here. And the first sound sounds like this. So a nice little ah sound, and then we have a little bit more of an aw sound. So this allows us to kind of morph between two different formats of almost the same sound. Which is a really cool effect. It kind of adds a little bit to the pad. Currently without any effects it sounds like this. You can see the automation up here. So that's what we started with, and the two main things we did to kind of achieve the Ajja sounds are these transformers and this rack down here. This rack is going to be available in the description, and it's a really cool rack for Ableton, which allows you to do some really cool stuff with sound design. I made it for something else, but it really worked on this sound too. So yeah, first I want to go over the transformer, and if you open it up and turn it on, you can see what we're doing is we're shifting the pitch up by an octave, and we're shifting the formats down by a certain amount, and we both are automating the pitch shift as well as the format shift. As you can see, we're slightly changing the format shift over time here, just kind of get that wavy feeling you would normally have. And then here we have our pitch shift, which you can also see down here. But we're basically going from 12 semitones up to 17 semitones, so plus 5 semitones and an octave. and then we're gonna go down back to +3, an octave and 3 semitones to kind of get a nice melodic line in there. And then here at the end, we're doing some different stuff, and we have some slides and some direct cuts to kind of add to the volume. I did this because originally the MIDI started off with just the same sound played over and over again, like in this case here. But I later went in and actually added these different notes in here. So to make the sound a little bit more complex. And then this is what we got in total. So that's a really cool way of doing things, and the reason why I did plus 12 semitones here instead of just shifting the MIDI up is because this form of pitch shifting kind of introduces some artifacts which I really liked in the sound, and that's something to experiment with. Maybe you can, if you want to take that really extreme, even pitch this MIDI clip down another octave and then pitch it up by 2 octaves if you want to. But that's something you need to keep in mind, is that you can use the artifacts of pitch shifters and frequency shifters in this case to kind of mess up your sound in a way that still sounds good, but it normally isn't really done. So that's a cool way to kind of add these artifacts to the sound. Another thing, what I noticed now that we have pitched it up by an octave, is that we kind of lose the mid end, or the middle of the sound, the mid range in frequencies. We have a lot of high frequencies in there, but we kind of want to introduce the mid range back in there. So what we did here is we added another transformer, and we are actually pitching this one down 12 octaves, or 12 semitones, so another octave, so back to the original pitch in this case. But following the same melody because it's behind the other one. So this kind of adds basically a voice dub below the original sound, which is an octave below our main line, or our main sound here. And as you can see, we have dry wet automation, as well as this global format shift, which we're automating, which is this knob here. And if we zoom in here, you can see we're doing some stuff here with the formats, and we're doing dry wet everywhere, and it kind of adds a little bit of extra sound to it. You can hear how sometimes when we are turning up the automation, it kind of shifts to a little bit more mid-range, and here it shifts to a little bit more high-end to kind of that kind of changes the feeling of the sound. So then you get that. As you can hear, we're kind of trying to morph all the original vocal line into this kind of almost a pad sound that is kind of always evolving and not really the same throughout the time, and kind of make it unrecognizable in a way. And this rack comes in next, and what this does, if I open it up quickly, you can see we have 2 chains here. This one is empty, and this one is has another effect rack in it, where the main processing is being done. That way we can again use the dry wet to select the different chains, and currently it's not doing any processing because the dry wet signal is at 0, meaning that all the audio is coming through this empty chain here. And when we turn the wet signal up, for example here, as you can see, this is the dry wet. For this particular rack, you can see we're turning it up at certain points to kind of emphasize that part of the sound and add a little bit more processing to it. So what this chain does is it does something very specific. It adds 4 kind of resonating spikes to our signal here and kind of overrides them. And I've done that with 4 corpuses. And what you can do is you can go in here, and if I quickly hide the chain here, you can see we have this tuning, and the tuning goes from, for the first one, it goes from C1 up to C2, and then the second one goes from C2 up to C3, and C3 up to C4, and then from C4 up to C5. So you can basically tune these spikes and kind of add some resonance to some of the harmonics in that way. And you have a little bit more control of them. For example, you can control the volume of each of them, and you can control the stereo width of each of them. As you can see, we're going left, right here. Kind of gives it a cool stereo effect. And you can also lengthen the decay of them a little bit if you want to. But we haven't done anything with that. We've just used them to kind of add a little bit of cool high-ending and sounding resonant spikes in there. So it sounds like this with them on. As you can see here, you can hear them coming in when the dry wet is turning on. So that's a cool trick you can use. I used it, as I said, originally this wasn't really made for this particular sound. I will leave a link to this rack in the description. I use it a lot on different types of sound. It also works well on main leads for Psytrance to kind of add an extra layer to them. So those are the main effects to kind of get the main sound. Now what we wanted to do is we wanted to have the gated feeling that the original has. If we listen back to it, you can hear we have this nice gate sounding effect here. You can hear you have that pa 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 pa. And to kind of get that same feeling, we use this utility. And the utility is just doing a volume automation here. As you can see, we're constantly repeating the same pattern here, which is 2/16 note followed by an 8th note. And now that that's turned on, it sounds like this, our main thing. And that kind of puts the whole sound together, makes it sound nice and rhythmic, and kind of gives it the same feeling as we had below here. Then we wanted to add some delay to kind of give it that ambience. I wanted to increase the high end, therefore what we did is we used this enhance preset and kind of edited a little bit. We turned the tone up, selected a good frequency for which it really worked, and then we automated the dry wet, as you can see down below here, because this section introduces a little bit more high end. We kind of turn it off for those sections here, while turning it on here because we had some trouble with not enough high end here. So to get the high end consistent, you can just automate the dry wet of this enhance overdrive preset. And then finally we did some final EQing, getting rid of any muddy frequencies down below 225 Hz here, and we added a little boost and then kind of kept the high end a little bit in check with this slight cut there. So then the final sound becomes this. So I hope that helps kind of give you inspiration for these vocal pads. It's really about the post-processing in this case. As you can see, we just started off with 2 normal omnisphere sounds. You can actually use any vocal sound. It doesn't have to be omnisphere. It's just what I had lying around. I suggest you just try to find maybe a sample that you use and then try to apply these tricks. With the different tunings, as well as this rack, which really works well in certain cases, and kind of make your own version out of it. If you want to really dive in deep, you can probably get the melody right and that kind of stuff, but really didn't want to spend the time for that, and I wanted to focus more on the effects and the sound itself rather than trying to recreate the actual exact thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that this can give you some pointers for your own vocal pad. And if you like what you see, feel free to subscribe and like the video. And I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.